So Zack Wheeler pitched on Friday, and then on Saturday we got the news that Zack Wheeler is injured. And it's not just, and we had been wondering and thinking there's probably an injury there for a while because his velocity had dipped, his performance had dipped. He admitted he had a sore shoulder. But, none of us could have foreseen what really was going on in there. Unfortunately, I'm not sure the Phillies saw it either until this weekend. Let's listen to Dave Dombrowski announcing on Saturday that Zack Wheeler is heading to the injured list with a blood clot. We're guessing is somewhere near the shoulder area. Here is Dombrowski on Saturday.
We're going to place on the injured list today, effective today, Zack Wheeler. He has a right upper extremity blood clot. And that's why Paul's in here. He can talk a little bit more. There's not a lot we can say on it at this time, but I commend Paul and the doctors here to find this because it could have been a much more trying situation than what it is. So, Paul, I'm just going to let you.
Zach had been feeling better after his right shoulder soreness, but yesterday some symptoms had changed. He felt a little heaviness, so the doctors here were great in helping to diagnose and expedite that diagnosis this morning.
All right, so there's the announcement from the doctor, the trainer of the Phillies, and Dave Dombrowski. Hugh, that was on Saturday. So Zack Wheeler is headed to the injured list. And, look, we don't have the full treatment plan yet. They haven't disclosed how long he's going to be out, what he needs to have done to fix this, whether it is treatment, whether it's rest, whether there's a surgery involved. Here we have no idea. Here's what I know. If you go back and look at some examples in recent history of guys that have had blood clots in the arm area, right, the shoulder area, I think it's very, very unlikely Zack Wheeler pitches again this year. And the first thing I want to say is we wish the best to Zack Wheeler. This is a serious thing.
Situation, yes.
Blood clots are serious. And I feel bad for him. He's a great pitcher. He's been a great performer. And if he's out for the rest of the season, I just feel bad for the guy because he was having a Cy Young kind of season, and it's now been derailed by whatever is going on in his arm. So that's number one. Number two is, Hugh, the impact on the Phillies, which is obviously immense. I mean, he's one of the best pitchers in baseball, and now their path, wherever the season ends up, is going to be harder. Hugh, your reaction as we get the news that Zack Wheeler is out with blood clots?
I had a lot of reactions. My first was, I don't want anybody to lose their job. But, man, when you talk about somebody having a rough year, the training staff for the Phillies, they're having a rough year, Joe. I mean, if you look at this year, just this year alone, and you look at all the diagnosis or misdiagnosis that have happened, that have occurred, man, somebody has to be uncomfortable. You have to be. When you talk about so many different guys, you talk about Nola early in the year. Who was it? Was it Ranger? Somebody else was hurt.
Well, Alec Boehm was
hurt.
Well, how about the Bryce Harper thing, which they thought was pretty minor, and he kept playing through it, and then it became a month-long thing.
It's just, as a doctor, to have that many misdiagnoses in one season, that's a lot.
Yeah, and look,
and then to have your ace go, I don't know this to be true, but it sounded like it, that you go have other doctors look at him and they say, hold up.
They get the trainer for the Phillies gave credit to the Nationals doctors for helping finding the clot on Saturday. Look, the most important thing is they found this and now they can help treat him.
Yes.
But Hugh, you're right. They have missed a lot this season. I don't know what happened here. I mean, he's been complaining about a sore shoulder for a month, and now they found the clot in his arm, which is a huge thing for the Phillies. And let me take you through my timeline of feeling on this. My initial thought as soon as it happened was, oh no, right? Like I think back to the way a lot of us felt when Carson Wentz went down in 2017. Oh no, like this is the best player on the team. This is the most important pitcher they have. And my first thought is like, they're screwed, right? But then I kept thinking through it, and we had the game yesterday, which it was a weird game. They won. Hugh, as much as he is extremely important and as great of a pitcher as he is, I am not willing on August 18th to throw the towel on the season. I'm not there. I am not willing to say that this season is over yet, even if he can't pitch anymore. I still believe they could win the World Series. I still believe they have a legitimate chance to win the World Series. Now, is it different? Is it harder? Is their path going to be way more challenging? Yeah, I'm not a dummy. I mean, like we've said how important he is, and he is hugely important. But I've also seen examples of other teams have injuries and win. I mean, last year the Yankees made the World Series without Garrett Cole. The Dodgers won the World Series without half their rotation. I mean, we've seen this before. Ronald Acuna, 2021 with the Braves, missed the last 3 months and they won the World Series. We've seen examples of, in baseball especially, Right? Baseball is a sport where there's so many players that participate that one player never has the outsized impact that sometimes I think we think they do. I still believe the 2025 Phillies could win the World Series. Am I down today? Yeah, I think we're all down. But I'm not willing to throw the towel on this season. Hugh, what's your feeling on the team now that they presumably lost their best pitcher for the rest of the year?
I mean, it's one of those things that, you use the old analogy, circle the wagons.
Yeah. You
got to circle the wagons, and you know that you have to step your game up. And I know for a lot of people, they probably don't understand that. But when you have one of your main cogs go down, you have to figure out a way to do just a little bit more. It might not have to be a whole lot, but just a little bit more to help get you over the hump. And that's what's going to have to happen. It's just unfortunate that at this time, you're having all these pitching woes. We got Ranger on the mound last night. We know what we saw from him the last time that he was out there, had a little bit of a meltdown. He has to step his game up.
Well, he definitely does.
Aaron Nola's coming back. He's going to have to step his game up. Alec Bohm came in yesterday, and he had a pretty good game for you.
Yep.
So all of these guys that we're talking about, you're just going to have to do a little bit more to help compensate for the fact that Wheeler's not going to be out there.
215-592-9494. Do you believe the Phillies can win the World Series without Zack Wheeler? That reality's there now. I mean, we don't know yet. We don't have a finalization yet that he's out for the season. But the reality is he's probably out for the season. I mean, if you just look at this kind of injury, the severity of it, other guys that have had it, I find it hard to imagine he's going to pitch again this year. I hope I'm wrong. I would love to see him back out there because that means he's healthy. I don't think he's going to pitch again this season. I also don't think the season is over. Let's hear Topper yesterday talking about the Wheeler situation, how they move forward, the plan, and really the depth they have behind Wheeler in this rotation.
What's your reaction to, I guess, the news on Zach, and do you think, do you expect you will have him at some point?
We don't know. We don't know the timeline, and I'm thinking a lot about Zach and his family because it's not a hamstring injury or something like that. So, but I feel good about the depth that we have. If we have to go to a 6, it could be Painter, it could be somebody else. But we've just got to carry on. People got to step up.
I mean, Hugh, that's it. We just got to carry on. We got to step up, and that's pro sports. Again, if this injury happened in April, that's a long way. You got to try to cover all those starts, right? That's 30-something starts of Zack Wheeler. We're almost at the end of the season now. The Phillies have a lead in this division. They can get to the finish line in the regular season without him, and in the playoffs, look, it's going to be on Topper. It's going to be on the offense. Bryce Harper has to be better. Trey Turner has to be better. Schwarber has to go off. There's a path to this happening. Is it more challenging? There's no question. But, I looked last year because the Dodgers had a lot of pitching injuries last year. The Dodgers almost had nobody in their rotation in October that they thought would be in the rotation in October. Glasnow got hurt. They got a lot of injuries. The most innings any pitcher threw for the Dodgers in the playoffs last year was 22 innings. That's the most. They only had 3 guys that pitched even 3 starts. They piecemealed it with the bullpen, with 4 starters pitching 2 or 3 innings. I mean, they just threw anything at the wall they could to get through it, and they did, and they hit a lot to win in October. 215-592-9494. Can the Phillies still win the World Series without Zack Wheeler? Hugh, that becomes the story now. And you know what I heard in Topper's voice there, Hugh? I heard they're all talking about this as if they know without knowing yet. The way he said, I was really more worried about him and his health and the family. Like, they're not talking about him as if he's coming back in 2 weeks.
No. I had a friend, like I was trying to remember, because I had a friend of mine who had a blood clot. And I don't remember the timeline, but I know he was on the blood thinners, the Coumadin. And I can't remember how quickly he came back, but it took a while. It took a while because, when you thin your blood, you can't. I don't think you can do a whole lot. I'm not a doctor. I'm just trying to remember exactly what was going on with this individual. So it's one of those things. Yeah, it doesn't sound like he's going to be back anytime soon.
No, I don't think he is either. And it's a shame. I feel bad for him. But the team's got a season to play, and I don't think this is over. 215-592-9494. Look, if the Phillies were 1 up in the division or 2, or they were fighting for their playoff lives, I might feel different. I might say, man, they got to even make the playoffs. They have a cushion. And that's the thing that they've earned, and they've given themselves a cushion. Zack Wheeler's starts up to this point have helped them create a cushion in the division. They're very likely still to make the playoffs, very likely. And then once they get there, it is about finding a way. They're going to have to hit more. Their bullpen's going to have to be great. They may have to ask for 6 outs.
All of that.
Out of Joan Duran some nights. I mean, they're going to have to find a different way to win. It's not going to be as easy as just map it out and give Wheeler game 1, give Wheeler game 4, give Wheeler game 7. But I'm not ready to say on August 18th this thing is dead and over. 215-592-9494. Kyle back in the studio. Where do you come down? I mean, it was tough this weekend, and it's certainly a blow to the Phillies. Kyle, can the Phillies still win the World Series without Zach?
So my initial reaction was probably like everybody else's, just devastation. I was like, The season's probably over. And I was saying the week or so before that we heard about this injury or the extent of the injury that I didn't think the Phillies could win the World Series with Zack Wheeler. And I definitely felt that way in the moment. But you know what? Call me crazy. Call me delusional. I picked myself off the mat. I wiped the dirt off. I didn't hear no freaking bell, Joe. Didn't hear no bell, Hugh. We can do this. The Braves won the World Series without Ronald Acuna, and he affects every game. I mean, and I'm going to do the whole Hugh Douglas thing where the pitcher only comes out every 5 days. I mean,
I was waiting for it. I was waiting for it from Hugh.
That is a reality of the situation with Zack Wheeler. Like, he will win you potentially 2 games out of a 5 or 7 game series, right? Like, this is not a position player who's going to affect every single game. And I do believe, if you zoom out a little bit, Christopher Sanchez is an ace of a World Series rotation. Like, they do have that one guy that you can go out there and maybe trust to win you 2 games in a series if he pitches at his best. And the reality of this team was, whether they had Zack Wheeler or not, they were not going to win the World Series unless the offense got hot and the bullpen pitched the best of their ability. So those 2 things can still happen. And I do believe that there is a way that this Phillies team can go and win the World Series without having Zack Wheeler out there. While their chances took a major blow, there is still a chance.
There is. And I go to last year. I mean, you know, we can go back to a million years ago. You can talk about injuries from guys on teams in the 90s, 2000s, whatever. Last year's Dodgers, their leading pitcher in terms of innings in the postseason was Jack Flaherty. He pitched 5 games. He had 22 innings total. And I know we were probably projecting and counting on Wheeler for more than that and to have him be the guy that carries them. But I just watched the team last year win the World Series, and they got 22 total innings, and they weren't even good innings. They got a 7 ERA. But they got 22 total innings out of their number 1 starter, quote-unquote, in the postseason last year. That's it. They hit. They matched up in the bullpen. They got big outs from guys that you wouldn't expect, and they won. And Hugh, as we're going to talk in the next couple of weeks, assuming this injury is what we think it is, about who's got to step up, it starts at the top. It starts with Turner and Harper and Schwarber. They need to go off. You know why the Dodgers won last year? Because Freddie Freeman went off, and Ohtani went off, and Betts went off. Like, there's a way to win without a star pitcher on the mound. You need to hit.
Yeah, and that has been a problem. And, you know, we talk about how great the pitching has been all season long before this happens, but the bottom line is every year since I've been here, the bats have went cold, Joe, and that's a fact. The bats have went cold. Guys have been put in position, and they've come up short in key moments. Came up short last year in the Mets series. So that's what has to happen. You know, we went out and got a closer, guy that's phenomenal, but you have to be able to get to the closer and score runs in order to put him out there and have success with him.
Yeah, and look, I mentioned earlier that my first thought, I think a lot of us and Kyle had a similar feeling, is you kind of think about how you felt when Wentz went down in 2017. But we know how that story ended. I mean, again, Zack Wheeler was a great pitcher. And if you asked me last week if the Phillies went without him, I would have probably said no. But now that we're here and now that we're in the moment, I'm not throwing the towel yet. Not on this season, not on this team. They know it's their last shot. I know it's their last shot. And I still think there's a chance they could do it without him.